I've been thinking about making this video for the past couple of months, and I've just been debating whether or not this should be a good topic. But with Kingdom Hearts 3 right around the corner, my god, at the end of January 2019, I just figured, why not? Let's do it for the hell of it. Kingdom Hearts means so much to me. I wish I could properly explain this. I can only hope to use the right words. See, I first found out about Kingdom Hearts from a commercial. I don't know if it was on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or something. And I was first mesmerized by the visuals, accompanied by the now iconic theme song. My older brother got it for his birthday, and whenever a new game came out, he was usually the one to first play it. And I would just sit back and watch. And since I would watch everything he does, I wouldn't have to replay the whole thing for myself. I guess that's a perk of being a younger brother, but at the same time, I personally didn't experience it. It was like a second-hand experience. See, this was way before the advent of Let's Plays. I remember being bored out of my mind while my brother was stuck in Wonderland of all places. Even to this day, whenever I go to Wonderland in Kingdom Hearts 1, I still feel that. I watched my brother bang his head against the wall while fighting Anti-Sora in Neverland, or Riku in Hollow Bastion. Remember when cutscenes were skippable? I could still memorize that till this day! I just watched him go through the entire game and defeat Ansem himself. When I was young, I didn't quite understand a signature piece of the ending. The cave drawing. See, I was only 8. I thought Sora and Kairi were actually giving each other punches to the face. Love hurts. Love hurts so much they were seeing stars instead of Pao-Poo fruits. Okay, I was really into Dragon Ball Z at the time, so give me a break, okay? I would revisit that ending at another time, but more on that later. Then, Kingdom Hearts 2 arrived, and I remember seeing screenshots online, and I was amazed by the Thousand Heartless battle. I think that was the first time I got a video game the day it came out. The local GameStop was surprisingly empty that night, and I couldn't stop staring at the box art, wondering about what it all meant. Unfortunately, I only played the introduction with Roxas. By the time the title card came up, my brother came back from school or soccer practice or whatever, and he played the rest of the game. He just took over. I guess I didn't mind that time. I just kept telling myself, well, my brother is better at playing video games than me, so why not? I personally remember being a bit confused about Kingdom Hearts 2, but it was a good game, regardless. The Ansem twist threw me into a loop, oh my gosh, and I didn't understand why Sora only faced only half of the Organization 13. And, who was that blonde girl? At that time, I had no idea there was another game that connected the two. Chain of Memories. Well, my brother eventually grew out of the Kingdom Hearts series, but somehow I didn't. Even though I was only watching my brother play, I became so inspired by this series. I was captivated by the story about good and evil, light and darkness. And growing up, I would come up with absolutely original stories, just trying to pay homage to the pieces of media I love. So I decided to go back and revisit the ending of Kingdom Hearts 1. After I saw Sora promise that he'd come back to Kairi after they split, I realized those cave drawings weren't punches after all. And as soon as I realized that, I actually cried immediately. And at that point, I never cried at a video game before. And I still kinda tear up whenever I see that cutscene. That told me that there was something more to this crazy series. I decided to follow it even when my brother gawked at me at playing a Disney game. You know, for kids. So, I followed the series. Sort of. I remember playing a bit of Chain of Memories on the Game Boy Advance. It was a short while. I didn't get far. And I admit I didn't play it as much as I should. I rented it from Gamefly back when they sent games through the mail. The story was interesting, especially since it bridged the gap between 1 and 2, but it was just playing through the same worlds of Kingdom Hearts 1, and the card system just rubs me the wrong way. I just ended up reading about what happened. I eventually got a DS and bought 358 Days Over 2. I think that's how you pronounce that. I thought it was nice and interesting, and I loved Shion. But for some reason I didn't get through it either. The story was really good, but the gameplay got tedious. And my friends laughed over the who else will I have ice cream with line. But deep down I understood the meaning behind it. I only bought the PSP to play 2 games. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And like Chain of Memories, I rented both from Gamefly. I don't remember why I gave Birth by Sleep back. It was a really good game, in my opinion. I just didn't want to keep it for a very long time. I'd feel guilty, you know? I think I was busy with school and theater too. Obviously, I didn't get to finish it at that time. I skipped coded. It didn't look that interesting and it felt like a retread. And I didn't own a 3DS, so I couldn't get Dream Drop Distance. Up until this point, I've been following the series through reading summaries and watching some cutscenes on YouTube. It wasn't the best way to consume all that content, but it got the job done. And meanwhile, all those games still inspired me to create something, to entertain people. Eventually, the HD remixed collections came out on the PlayStation 3. One problem, though. My only PS3 got the yellow light of death. It was the original fat 60GB model with the backwards compatibility and the Spider-Man font. The culprit? My brother was playing Fallout 3 with all its DLC. And I personally couldn't afford another PlayStation 3. My brother, however, at the time had an expendable income and was able to afford around 3 Xbox 360s. So I ended up missing 2/3 of the PS3 life cycle. But I made sure I'd get the PS4 when it came out. A little later on, Unchained Key, or Union Cross right now, came out when I was in college. And it became the only mobile game I got addicted to. It helped me a little throughout the craziness that was college life. I eventually got a PlayStation 4, and on my birthday in 2017, I got both the 1.5 and 2.5 remixes, and the 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. Until this point, I felt like I've only been a spectator. I could finally play everything on one console. But by then I was struggling with major depression, and general and social anxiety. I was diagnosed a couple years prior, around 2015, when I was in the middle of college. I had many sleepless nights, and I had uncontrollable bouts of crying. I felt like a zombie every day, and sometimes I was paranoid that I was going to die in some freak accident that was out of my control. I had suicidal thoughts, but I never acted upon them. I guess I thought freak accidents would be better than suicide. Maybe I was just watching too much Final Destination. My university was in a completely different place than my home. A different state, actually. And I felt like I vanished off the face of the earth. I had a horrible time trying to make new friends. I really tried to manage throughout my college experience, but I felt sick. And I really had to go on an academic leave of absence for a term just to take care of my mental health. I was still able to graduate in 2016, but it would take time for me to feel better. But 2017, where I got those two collections, that itself was a rough year. By that time, I was medicated and seeing a psychiatrist and a therapist, but in retrospect, I was not feeling better. Although I graduated, I could not find a job at all, especially one that matched my interests in what I studied. And I don't think a bachelor's degree opens many doors nowadays. I kept sending out resumes and cover letters nearly every day and heard nothing in return. It's the worst applying to jobs nowadays. I felt stuck and not progressing in my life whatsoever. Not to mention the student loan debt that's been occupying a corner of my mind. Although I was medicated and going to therapy, something wasn't working. My depression and anxiety got worse. I had to go into an intensive outpatient program, which practically grinded my slow-moving life into a complete stop. A halt. They gave me new medication, which ended up not helping me whatsoever. I learned some things, but I always had a nagging feeling that I was running out of time. That the world was going on without me. I did not feel like myself at all. It was during that time where I had the entire Kingdom Hearts series to play. Okay, so up until this point, everything has been incredibly depressing, so future self, please play a very funny sound effect. Okay, so I'm looking at my script, and it stops right around this point, and so I'm just gonna be talking off the cuff, a stream of consciousness, if you will. This is gonna turn out great! No, okay, the first, game on the collection that I played, it wasn't Kingdom Hearts 1, you know, like a normal person. I started with Birth by Sleep, and then went in release order. I find that it has, like, one of the best stories in the series, and it's my opinion, of course. I mean, your best story from Kingdom Hearts might be coded for all I know. So, it allowed me to reframe the general concept of Kingdom Hearts. The game's enemies, the Unversed, are described as a horde of fledgling emotions that grow from negativity. And I thought, negativity, negative emotions, that's depression, that's anxiety, that's a slew of mental illness. And I thought, what if darkness wasn't literally darkness? Darkness in people's hearts could be more like depression or intrusive, destructive thoughts. It's bad. So, since the Unversed came from Vanitas, who was made of pure darkness, wouldn't darkness be a substitute for depression? I mean, his name in Latin means emptiness, and a lot of people with depression do feel that. They feel this emptiness inside them. So I hope I'm not the only one who thought that, but for me at the time, it just clicked like that. It allowed me to understand the villains a little better. I'm not only fighting darkness, that is the heartless, and the emptiness of the nobodies, and the negativity of Unversed. I'm fighting depression, I'm fighting anxiety, I'm fighting mental illness. And it added so much to the story that it helped me personally. I applied that idea to the rest of the series as I played. Eventually, I got to the finger-wiggling nemesis that is Xehanort, and I always wondered why Xehanort does what he does. I understand that maybe originally he wanted light and darkness to coexist equally. That's a good idea, but the way he goes about doing it is not good. Not good at all. I mean, what happened? Who hurt you? You're doing me a concern here. We need an intervention. And by intervention, I mean a good keyblade bashing over your bald head. So, after Birth by Sleep and the craziness that ensued there, I went directly to Kingdom Hearts 1, and I was just immediately taken back. And this time, I was the one playing it, not my brother. Playing it during a dark time for me, it was such a rush of childhood nostalgia. I remember all the Disney worlds, all the Final Fantasy characters, all the cutscenes that you could skip now. Even with the final mix, there were some new things that I was pleasantly surprised about. It was a chance to fall in love with the characters all over again. And that ending, oh my gosh. I just instantly cried. It was like magic. The magic from childhood just came back. To this day, the ends of Kingdom Hearts 1 would probably be my most favorite ending. I then went into Chain of Memories, and to be honest, I didn't like it very much. Sorry. The story was great. However, in the remake for the 1.5 collection, I really did not like the gameplay. I'm sorry. I know some fans are gonna beat me over the head with the box for Chain of Memories, but I am truly, truly sorry. Story-wise, while playing it, I thought about what if people forgot about me? Friends come and go, and odds are some may forget about you. It's a little fear, I suppose. Anyway, I didn't get to finish the game, for reasons completely unrelated to the story. I tried. I really tried. I only got up to the third Riku replica fight, and then I had to stop because I was getting really annoyed with the gameplay. Next was 358 Days Over 2, and I'm glad they just did the cutscenes for that one because the gameplay on that one was very tedious. My copy's somewhere in the world. I don't have it on me right now. Well, if you want to talk about depression, then holy shit, that game has it in spades. Well, we have a group of 13 to 14 people who don't have hearts, they cannot feel emotions, so... yeah! Organization 13 is like a giant group therapy session headed by the worst possible counselor ever. Roxas starts out the game like a zombie, completely emotionally void. It isn't until he spends more time with his friends Axel and a very interesting replica called Shion that he starts to feel better. And I say Shion is an interesting character because she goes through an identity crisis, and that's putting it mildly. And you bet your ass I cried at the end. Haha, depression! I'd love to go through this in more detail, but we'd be here all day. I hope you can understand how this game could connect to mental illness, even with my bad explanations. The next game I played was obviously Kingdom Hearts 2, everyone's favorite game. And I was so frustrated with Chain of Memories that I just really wanted to play Kingdom Hearts 2. And when I first played the final mix on the collection, it was just as good, if not better, than what I even remembered back in 2006. And I don't think I remembered much, mainly because my brother was playing most of it. There's not much to say about Kingdom Hearts 2 through a mental health lens. You're just playing as Sora trying to defeat Xemnas' evil therapy session, that's all. And can I just say how Sora and Riku are the best? Come on! More on that later. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, Coded. Honestly, I don't have much of a segue for Coded, so yeah, Coded. Also known as Kingdom Hearts, a robot learns about coping mechanisms. This game isn't important, right? Right? Oh god. Basically, you have to go through Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories and a little bit of 358 over 2 to find out something that you've kind of known since Birth by Sleep as a data version of Sora. And Does it really matter in the end? Maybe? I don't know. But the line in Jiminy's journal that says, "Their hurting will be mended when you return to end it," really triggered something. In retrospect, I think it's the combination of spending so much time with all these characters and my state of mental health at the time. It really spoke to me. After clearing the corruptions that were inside Jiminy's journal, you would have to fight an infected Data Riku, your best friend basically. And after that, the bug responsible for the corruption takes the form of Sora's Heartless, which is kind of heart-wrenching when you really think about it. And when you defeat that and the journal is restored, there's still a little more. Now, honestly, at this point, I've been mentally exhausted by the whole thing, but what happens next just hit me. You meet Data Roxas in Castle Oblivion, and while fighting him, he tells you how much he is lamenting the fact that no one remembers him. He has been forgotten. He feels this crippling loneliness. And I immediately empathized with that. I instantly related to him. And I didn't expect that, especially with a game like Coded, which I don't know if anyone likes. It's certainly not my favorite Kingdom Hearts game. It's probably at the bottom of my list. It was at that moment, and it was probably late at night too, that going through the series while dealing with my mental health, it all just converged and spilled out. Then afterwards, we learned that we have to save everyone. We have to save Roxas, Axel, Shion, Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. We have to save a lot of people who were connected to Sora's heart. And all that just gave me such a sense of invigoration. Don't get me wrong, Coded was trash, I can admit that. But these moments were what made it special. Now, Dream Drop Distance was fun. I thought it was fun. It was just new territory for me. I never played the game on 3DS. I didn't even have a 3DS. I just thought it was fun. The Dream Eaters were weird, but cute at the same time. I had a Meow Wow following me everywhere. That thing was adorable. I loved seeing the worlds for Hunchback of Notre Dame and Fantasia. Oh my gosh. The story was ridiculous, but I loved it. I watched Kingdom Hearts Key back cover and I didn't understand any of it. And 0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage, was just a very nice cherry on top. And after playing that, I just couldn't wait for Kingdom Hearts 3. And I just can't believe it's around the corner. I can't believe I'm even saying that. I can't believe it's just coming out. Even if I have the video game case in my hands and I'm looking at the beautiful artwork, or even if I'm putting the CD into my PlayStation, I wouldn't even believe it. This reframing of darkness as mental illness allowed me to gain a better appreciation for Riku. I feel like he is the series' best example of someone who can overcome mental illness. He had become one of my favorite characters in the series. In the first game, he was this brooding character who obviously had darkness inside him and was manipulated by Maleficent, and the reason he was so easily manipulated is because he had this insecurity of maybe he's not going to be Sora's friend forever. And he sees that at first when he finds Goofy and Donald. And another insecurity that he also talked about at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2 is how he was jealous of Sora and he sort of just wanted to be like him. and how he always wanted to follow his heart like Sora. And he does that. He eventually does that in Dream Drop Distance. He comes to terms with the past. He goes a long way throughout his arc, throughout the entire series, starting at the ends of Kingdom Hearts 1, through Chain of Memories, through the craziness that is 358 Days Over 2, through 2, and to Dream Drop Distance. And he grew a lot. And that's why I just really, really like this character. He just, good character writing. And Sora, oh my gosh, a lot of stuff happens to him, and it's not all that great. But throughout all of that, he's able to think positively and power through. The mental health on this boy is fantastic. Like, oh my god. I don't know how much it'll hold come Kingdom Hearts 3, but ooh boy. He said that his friends are his power, but power comes from within. I feel like he will really be tested in this next installment. Regardless, I feel like people with mental illness could look up to both Sora and Riku. They're such good characters. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Now I want to hear from you. How did Kingdom Hearts affect your life? I really want to hear your thoughts. This is the first time I've ever done a lengthy video essay, so I hope you liked it. Thank you for listening and for going through this journey with me. See you later.